What's up, guys? It's Munch of Team Dual Money, and I'm here with my Teleswarm deck list. This is basically Steelswarm deck with a Teledad engine, and this is a very fun deck. I plan to bring it to locals, and I'm still undefeated, over 100 duels on Dueling Network. And I mean, that's not saying much, but I mean, the deck really does. I mean, even at school, I'm undefeated with it. But it's a pretty fun deck. No one expects it this format because everybody's expecting, like Fossil Dino, or not Fossil Dino, Rabbit Dino, wind-ups and Insectors, and I mean, same side basically for Insectors, but it's still all around a very fun deck to play. So what we're gonna start with is one Steelswarm Scout. It's like a Treeborn Frog. Double Steelswarm Cells. It's like a Cyber Dragon, and you contribute it for a Steelswarm monster. Double Collar. Don't really use it to tribute too often. I just use it for a 17 attack monster and for sinking power. Double Gira. Running 3 was very slow. I mean, it's a card that you want in your hand and then you don't want in your hand. You don't want too many of it in your hand. Well, what it does is when it's tribute summoned by a Steelswarm, send, not destroy, one card on the field to the graveyard. So it gets around Stardust Dragon and all those cards, like even Zen Mines gets around that. Double Moth. When it's tribute summoned, pay 1,000 life points and you can bounce 2 cards on the field. Very good. I mean, it's like a double Grand Mole for the most part. Now, these are proxies, of course, but I'm getting the actual cards when I open my booster box or my SE box later on today. Double Veiler. Obvious staple. Now for the engine, the other engine, we would have Double Mally, really good. I wish it was at 3, but you can't complain with 2. Double Cravons. I also use this to stall out most people. Most people really don't expect Cravons, but in this, from the Teledad format, of course, obviously. 1 Sangan, 1 Greffer, just to dump out dead hands and to get either Plague Spreader or Scout in the graveyard, anything I need in the graveyard, or even if I need to, like Pot of Avarice, stuff like that. 1 Dark Greffer. 2, 2 was a possibility, but this is a cheap deck for for basically poor people that not saying I'm poor, I have a lot of decks, but just an easy, cheap, fun deck to play and make. 1 Plague Spreader, 1 Gores, 1 Dark Arm, 1 Dad. You can easily get the common for $1. I mean, all the cards, well, most of the cards are relatively cheap. I mean, you could buy all the commons for like 50 bucks, around there. Yeah. Now, this format really asks for it with Fiendish Chains and all that crap, Factory with wind-ups, triple MST, sorry, and heavy. Almost as good as the Solemn Brigade, and I don't run that many traps, so of course getting rid of that back row is really helpful. Double Recurring Nightmare gets two Steelswarm monsters from my graveyard to my hand, basically Gira and Moth, or Cell if I need it. 1 for 1, pitch a dead card in my hand, get Scout or whatever to the field for a tribute summon. 1 Rhoda, of course, obviously 1 E-Telly. Now I could have ran 2, but I tested it a lot, and 2 is just really bad if you have a Cravons in your hand and you happen to have two E-Teles, or if you have two E-Teles and you top deck into a Krebons, it's just bad. Allure, of course, staple for any dark deck. Book of Moon really stops plays this format. D-Draw, same reason with E-Tele. I just want to run one, because I mean, I do not want two Mallies in the graveyard at the same time. It's just bad. So yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then there's Reborn, Foolish Burial, get that Plague Spreader, or my Steelswarm Scout in the graveyard if I don't have any dumping cards in my hand. Dark Hole, Pot of Avarice. I don't use it that often, but it's still a good card. I mean, for the most part, I only use it for extra draw power later on in the game if, for whatever reason, I don't beat the person yet. Now, this next card, one of the 4 traps is Mirror Force. I usually side this out for a Torrential, depending on the person that I'm playing. Like if I'm playing 6 Sams, I'm definitely gonna side this out for Torrential, or even with Insectors, just Torrential, whatever the hell they get out, or even Rabbit Dinos. Rabbit Dinos, Torrential punches them in the face. You can't do anything about that. Now, everybody hates this, but triple Reckless Greeds. Everybody hates it because you skip 2 draw phases and blah blah blah. But the way that this deck runs is, if I have a Scout in the graveyard, then why not use this? I mean, if I have a Scout in the graveyard and I happen to have like a Reckless Greed or 2 Reckless Greeds, or every once in a while I'll like save my Reckless Greeds and have 3 and have a Scout in the graveyard, that's 6 draws. So basically replenish my entire hand, get Giras and Moths or whatever else I need, MSTs, anything I really need in my hand. There's no such thing as a dead Reckless Greed in this deck. It's just, it's just really good, really good, really good. Now, as for extra deck, I mean, like I said, it's a poor person's deck profile. You know what I mean? But one Leviathan Dragon. This happens to be the Ghost Rare, but I mean the tin version works just as well. Just in case, you don't obviously don't need it that much in this deck, but it's for those. Most of the extra deck is for that just in case moment, as well as these double Utopias. If I just happen to have 2 callers on the field, or if I have a caller on the field and I Monster Reborn because I really need it, it's just a really good stable to have in anything, just in case, because this deck doesn't ask for too much. Same thing with Illuminite. Definitely, you don't really go into it, but I mean, it's just a pretty decent card to have. And then there's Colossal Fighter. Colossal Fighter does wonders for this deck, because ever since YCS Mexico, a lot of people are running 6 Sams, trying to get over on the 3 top tier decks. And oh, you have Warriors in your graveyard? Let's do this, because just punches 6 Sams in the face if they can't if they can't stop it. Goodbye, good game. You know what I mean? Another one is Cataster, or Cataster, however way you want to say it. I like Stratocaster, so I say Cataster. But just a staple. Really gets rid of cards. Like, some dude actually pulled out. Damn, I can't even remember. Obelisk. He pulled out an Obelisk first turn on me, and I was mad because I couldn't. I can't target it with my Gira. But I got over it with Cataster because it doesn't target, so that was definitely a good card to have. Brio. Now, there's talk about a reprint. I don't know anything about that, but if there is a reprint, that's cool, that's fine. But I like my Brio. Bounce anything you want. And then there's unnecessarily, of course, 2 double Junk Warriors. Definitely don't need it. Never get to go into it. It's just to make my extra deck look thicker. Now, Iron Chain Dragon. This card does wonders for this deck. I mean, especially against 6-Ams, just destroy their deck and constantly, because I mean it's a 25 6-Ams. I mean, unless you have a hand or a Zanji, you can't really get over 25. Shien can, but I mean they're gonna target, or they're obviously gonna attack with Shien and destroy another 6-Am. But it's, you know, it's an easy card to get in and out of, and they have to do all of that just to get around this card. And you know, pretty much. Black Rose Dragon. This card, you know, nukes the entire field. A lot of people are running Starlight Road thanks to Torrential being at 2, so this card is not really a first option for me, but I mean it gets the job done when there's no back row and there's a shit ton of monsters. Just bam. Stardust Dragon, obvious staple. A lot of people side this against, or not side this, but use this on Inzectors, but it does not help at all. Sure, you negate one destruction, but if the Hornet was equipped to a Dragonfly, they still get the detach, and they get the special, and they can do it all over again, pop whatever they wanted to pop in the first place, and I mean you get this back, but I mean stopping one destruction isn't going to help you all that much. And the last card in my extra deck is, boom, Chimera Tech Fortress, because, you know, especially with the new Machina help coming around soon, a lot of people are going to be running machines again and trying to make their own build like mine. I mean, I've been running machines for a long time. Like my Machina build, it seldom changes, but when it does, you know, I stick to Machinas with gadgets, and then you know basically, but really gets around those. Well, that's my deck profile list. I'm not going to go into side deck because I pretty much have the same side deck for all of my decks. Well, excluding Shadow Imprisoning Mirror for this deck, that would kill me. But if you ever want to see my side deck, just come see me at Locals.